Hi, I'm Matt BOM and welcome to my mod examination video for my current playthrough of Skyrim, my Let's Play with Tyrgan here, and the fantastic Zora in the background. Right, I thought I'd make a video to discuss some of the mods that I'm using, and in this video we're going to basically look at the mods which change the player character, in this case Tyrgan. So things that affect combat, and other elements of the player character. So I think what I did is put Tyrgan in his steam house, and through that door is his sauna. Zora's going to be good and stay in the corner there. But I thought what we'll do is we'll look at the mod configuration menu for some of the mods that I'm using. I won't be able to cover absolutely everything that I'm using because I'm using a ridiculously high amount of mods, which you'll get some indication of how many I'm using by looking at the MCM. If I just scroll down quickly, yeah, you get the idea. There's an awful lot there. So I thought we'd start. As you can see, Tyrgan looks a bit skinny really. Well, that's because I'm using pumping iron. So what pumping iron does is it you set your original body weight when you create the character, and what pumping iron does is it will increase the body weight associated with how much exercise you do, how much fighting you do, running you do, and how much sleeping you do. So you go out, do a bit of adventuring, do a bit of fighting, etc., and then you go to bed and you'll increase in body weight. So basically the exercising and the fighting will increase your training. You'll go to sleep and then your body weight will increase. So I actually started Tyrgan off at a body weight of 20, and now he's nearly 30. So he was even more scrawny at the beginning of this Let's Play series. It's aesthetic, this mod, for the most part. It's not for me because of the other mods that I've used, but if you just use pumping iron on its own, it will just change the look of the character. Now what I've done is I've used another mod called Disparity. Classic classes, greater racial diversity. So with the pumping iron mod and Disparity, you've got under, I believe it is, yeah, other options, body weight adjustments. So when you're bigger or smaller, you get differences with your stats. So physical damage is increased, but it basically tells you at the bottom, physical damage adjusts the amount of all types of physical damage depending on body weight. Adjustments range from -10% to +10%, increasing +1 for every 5 points of body weight. And the same thing for the other stats you can see here. There's a few interesting ones like running speed. Adjust the running and sprinting speed by +5% to -6% based on body weight. But it favours mid-range weight, so if Tyrgan ever gets really big, then he'll slow down. But when he was skinnier, he would have been faster. So that's what the running speed does. So you can actually see that the pumping iron mod has a direct effect at the Disparity mod itself as far as the body weight adjustments are concerned, which is awesome. So I thought that those two worked well together and made a difference to the player character stats overall. So while we're here with Disparity, we can have a look at the other bits and pieces. Under player traits, so basically he's a Nord, and my weight currently is 29. I created a custom class, and I gave him a few things to start with. As you know, Tyrgan started in the Riverwood Lodge. He was actually a guardsman for a merchant up at Helgen, and he had a few player starting stats, and his carry weight I adjusted slightly. A bit working for a merchant, I kind of thought that he would have slightly greater carry weight, you know, makes sense. I gave him a few perk points to begin with because I basically nerfed his progression. To start with, he was actually minus something on a certain few skills, so it took him longer to gain on those skills. So I thought to kind of balance that out slightly, I gave him some perk points. So he kind of had 10 perk points that he spread out across the skills that he was okay at, because being a guardsman for a merchant, he would have had a few skills. So that's what I did. Under class selection, I've got the custom class that I made. It doesn't actually say what I've called it though. I thought I called it guardsman, but it doesn't say that there. Okay, and basically I changed the skill bonuses slightly, ever so slightly. So they're the skill bonuses he's got when he started on those particular skills, and also chose the effect, which is Fortify skill level. So basically your class-based skill points will be applied as Fortify effects. This will allow your character to continue benefiting from the skill bonuses even after reaching 100 skill level. It also allows you to benefit more from levelling your major and minor skills, which is awesome. So it basically means that Tyrgan is going to keep on progressing and getting stronger and stronger and harder and harder. I gave him a few starting spells as well, because I thought kind of living in Skyrim. He met a lot of people, you know, he'd been to a few taverns, met a few interesting women as well that would have taught him a few things, so he learnt a few spells too. As you can see, his attributes, he specialised in combat, being a guardsman. His primary attribute was health, his secondary attribute was endurance. Okay, so the race and gender is next. So, racial skills, the effect to fortifying skills and XP rate. You can see there, your racial skill bonuses will be applied both as fortified skill effects and to your skill progression rate. And I've used various different things here. This Disparity mod is well worth downloading and installing. You can go through each one of these individual options and read what it says at the bottom. It's quite important, but you can see here what I've done. I've basically used everything because I wanted to make it interesting. I wanted everything to be diverse, which it is. And it's awesome, and it works very well with the other mods too. Especially the Pumping Iron one, which I pointed out to begin with. So that's Disparity, affecting all sorts of different things for Tyrgan, the player character. But don't be surprised though, if you do use that mod, that you'll find, especially if you've got a very low body weight, that you'll find some minus on your skill stats when you start. It's a little bit unnerving, because you think, hang on, am I absolutely terrible or what? But it doesn't take that long to build them up. I mean, it's taken a while, but not that long. It just it makes for a longer game, it makes for a more realistic game, because I've found in some of my previous playthroughs that you'll start the game and within 10 levels you're this uber fantastic hard character that can take on, you know, 2 dragons at once and only with a piece of wood and a headbutt, you know. But Tyrgan is a lot weaker, and I think he's more balanced because he's weaker, if that makes sense. So that's Disparity. We've got an awful lot of mods here to look at, so I'm going to try and focus on the ones that make more sense. I'm going to do a separate video on the enemies and the monsters and things and the mods that I've used for them. We've got one here called Creature Size Variants, which is an important one that I'll talk about later. I digress. So what other ones do we want to talk about with Tyrgan that directly affect his stats in particular? That's what we're looking for now. Well, we've got other interesting sort of immersive mods like iNeed, which is the need to drink, sleep and eat, and it's got diseases there as well, and that will take an effect on your stats. If you're hungry or if you're tired, obviously that will decrease your stats, and if you've got a disease, that will decrease your stats, and if you need to sleep and you're tired, that will decrease your stats too. So I'm using that as well. I have decreased the hunger and thirst rate because otherwise he's drinking and eating all the time. If they're any higher than that, you've probably noticed on my Let's Play videos, he's always eating, he's always drinking. He'll be talking to someone and he'll just go and eat. You know, really rude, I'm eating. But that's because I've automated the eating and drinking. I've turned off the eating and drinking animations when he's standing. He does that only when he's sitting. But yeah, I think anything higher than what I've got here, and he's just constantly eating and drinking. So that's what I did. I turned off the followers' needs, but you could include the followers' needs as well with iNeed, so they have to eat, drink, and sleep too. But I did enable the meals with followers, and I turned off the horses' needs as well. I didn't want to have to micromanage every single element of the game. I mean, my player character is Tyrgan. I didn't want to spend the whole game making sure the followers are eating, making sure they've got food and drink and things like that. Kind of, you know, left that to the imagination. They're eating, they're drinking, they're sleeping, that's fine. I have turned off some of the difficulty things on iNeed as well. I didn't want it to be too over the top on micromanagement. So that's really the basics of iNeed and the effect that has on Tyrgan himself. Okay, there's an awful lot here. An awful lot. Disparity is the main one. I've used lots of other different mods. I've got the Thunderchild Shouts there, which now Tyrgan has found out he's Dragonborn and he's building up his shouts. You would have noticed one of my previous videos, can't remember which one it is now, probably episode 11 maybe, where he's with the Greybeards, or episode 10, or the second time he goes to the Greybeards. So I should really check before I made this video, shouldn't I? Anyway, one of the last videos I've done, he's with the Greybeards and he learns the last word to Unrelenting Force, and then he goes off and he goes through to the library section, and that's what the Thunderchild Shouts mod is. It's another section in High Hrothgar, where you can learn loads more shouts, which is awesome. So we've got that to look forward to. Let's go back up and talk about Frostfall, which is hypothermia, camping and survival, and that affects gameplay in as much as I've turned the exposure rate down because I don't want to get too cold too quickly or too wet too quickly. I don't like it having that in your face all the time, so I've halved the exposure rate. I haven't done it so I die at max exposure, but I get rescued, so you pass out, you get rescued, take it to the nearest tavern, that sort of thing. But I have turned up various things like frigid water is dangerous and high exposure slows you. So yeah, basically if you're overexposed, you'll be slowed down. You know, if you're wet and freezing, you won't move as quickly. It affects your fighting, your stats, which together with the disparity and iNeed and things like that, it does make for a very interesting game. It does indeed. Okay, another mod that I'm using is the Archery gameplay overhaul, and that affects your stats in relation to Archery, obviously. Okay, you've got info there. Various different bits and pieces like bleeding, arrow removal, enchant arrows, and you've got lots of different settings there. Things like arrow wounds that are a bleeding effect on the camera, persistent arrows so they stay in the character model. Arm fatigue, so you pull the bow back and then the camera starts to shake and it drains stamina. So all those sort of things are affecting your gameplay, making for an interesting game also. It's good stuff. So yeah, another mod I should really talk about is Achieve That, and that basically monitors what you're doing in the game. If I give you an example, we'll click on character there, and it basically looks at what you're doing. So it'll monitor your crafting, your attributes, whether you've got decent protection, sprinter, we're going to need a bigger sack, all this sort of stuff under harvesting, alchemy, combat, bounty. There's a general tab for exploration time, books, conjuration, that sort of thing. Uncategorized achievements. And it will monitor everything, and it will give you glory, I think it's called. Under Hall of Glory, yeah, it will give you glory to spend on rewards. So you'll get a certain amount of glory, and then you can see here, you can increase your stats directly by spending the glory. I haven't spent any glory yet, which is something I keep meaning to do. I see the achievements pop up, and then I think I really must spend the glory, but I don't. So in the next couple of videos I probably will spend the glory, so you can see what I actually spend it on. But I won't take too long looking at that, but that'll directly affect Tyrgan's stats also. So that's pretty much, I think, all I can show you in the MCM. If we have a look at the perk tree itself, I'm very used to using a controller for Skyrim. I use an Xbox One controller usually when I'm playing with a modified profile. So I was just turning the controller on if I can get to the right thing. Look at the perk tree. I'm actually using Ordinator. I've got a level to go up to, but I don't want to level up. Can I go out? No, I can't. I'm going to have to come out of this a different way. I don't want to level up. I want to do that on the character. Oh, that's right. I'll just revert to my other save. Health, whatever. Okay. So yeah, this is the perk system, perk overhaul I'm using. I did use Skyrim before. I've looked at Perma, I've looked at Requiem, things like that. But to be quite honest, I always find, because I use so many other mods, that I have to go in to. They've got like this little program you run called a reprocker, and it's supposed to change all the stats to be in line with what you're using. But I find it doesn't do it properly on everything that I've modded. So I end up going in to the ESP and altering it, and every time you add or change or do something with the mods, you have to alter this ESP, and it's just very time consuming. I got very fed up with it, and then I noticed this Ordinator perk overhaul, which I don't have to do that with, and I was happy, so I stuck with this. But this is the first proper playthrough I've done with this alternative perk system, so it's quite interesting so far. We'll see how we get on. I quite like the archery one, but obviously that directly affects Tyrgan himself. Yeah, you'll notice here, and I'll just tell you on the perk system here, that you've got the skill levels in green, and you've got his health, stamina and magicka in green. Now that's the buffed skill level. If there was no magical effects, if Tyrgan wasn't wearing anything, he didn't have any buffs or any skills applied to him at all, it would all be white. That's kind of the effective skill level that he is at. But when you go into the actual tree, that's his actual skill level. So his archery's actually 39, but his effective level's 59. But I can't use the perk points on things which are 50, like that. That's 40. I can't use the perk points on that because actually his skill level was only 39. If you go out, you'll see his buffed skill level is 59. That's a bit confusing, but if it's in green, that means that's not his actual base skill level. That's his base skill level. I wonder if any of the trees are still showing a minus on the skill level. No, that is just 6. No, I don't think any of them are anymore. It'll probably be a green one if it was, because I have leveled quite a few times now with Tyrgan, so I don't think any are still going to be in the minus. I think to begin with it was the heavy armour that was in the minus, and that was because he was a skinny chap, he wasn't strong, and yeah, it just brought his skill level all the way down, which was quite realistic. I mean, he didn't do much, he was a guardsman, he wasn't particularly fit, he wasn't particularly strong, so it kind of makes sense now that he is getting stronger. Being the Dragonborn, doing a lot of fighting and exploring and adventuring, it makes more sense. It's more immersive and makes for a more interesting game. And a longer game, which, well, Skyrim is when you've added loads of mods to it, an incredibly long game. So I'm expecting the seasons of Skyrim. I expect the seasons of Skyrim to last quite a long time on my channel, which is a good thing. A good thing. I do love Skyrim. I must remember to revert to my other save game because I don't want to level up here. So that's Skinny Tyrgan. The combat mods that I'm using that actually affect Tyrgan when he's fighting. I'm using Combat Evolved and also, so I'm just looking through my mod list. Can't remember off the top of my head. Yep, Duel, Combat Realism. They're the two I'm using. I did use another one on top, but they're kind of conflicted, so I went back to just using Combat Evolved and Duel, Combat Realism. I'm also using Revenge of the Enemies, but that's more specific to the enemies, and I'll discuss that in another video that probably be as short as this one. That gives you a basic overview of some of the player character mods that I'm using that affect Tyrgan's stats, and so that's why you see what you see when I'm playing the Let's Play. And I hope that was interesting for you. I hope it wasn't too all over the place, because I kind of did it in an all over the place sort of way. But then Tyrgan is an all over the place sort of character. So anyway, I'll catch you later, and we'll look at the enemy mods a little bit later on.